So much to get to this morning on the national briefing and such a short time to get to it. Good morning. This is Kelly Nash. I will tell you that what I am going to reveal to you within the next 5 minutes or so is stunning and did not come from political news outlets. You wouldn't find it. You'd find it in lifestyle sections like People magazine. This is a stunning update from what the Bidens have created. The Biden administration created something that is shocking. We'll get to that within the next 5 minutes. But first, the good news. Yesterday, the SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, overruled the Ninth Circuit, which the premise of the Ninth Circuit was that if it looks like an illegal, talks like an illegal, walks like an illegal, and you suspect it of being an illegal, and that's why ICE talked to that individual, then you can't deport those people, even if they are illegals. You have to leave them in the country. Sanity finally ruled in a 6-3 decision, and the left is none too happy about it, as Joan Biskupic on CNN reports.
Here's what Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by Justices Jackson and Kagan on the liberal side, said, "We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job, rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost. I dissent."
I dissent. That's powerful to the left. They love that phrase. I will point out that you could end all this if you would just stop your sanctuary city/state policies. And when somebody is arrested for a crime in your town, simply call ICE while they're in the holding cells or in some sort of jail cells and let them be processed by ICE. If you did that, then the people that you quote unquote love, the illegals who are not committing crimes other than being illegal in this country, possibly working without papers and those types of things, they would not be scooped up as ICE targets these people. And again, they've already told you, if you're hanging around in the general vicinity of these people, we're going to assume that you're doing business with these folks and we're going to scoop you up as well. So you could end all this, but you've chosen not to. F.A. Pritzker is how I refer to J.B. Pritzker, the big governor of Illinois, and he's not happy, but he has a warning for us as well.
I refuse to pretend that any of this is normal. I refuse to concede that the abject cruelty that we're seeing play out with the execution of Trump and Stephen Miller's policies are okay or justified. Because, as I said 6 months ago, any rational person has to ask themselves on one important question. Once they get the citizens of this nation comfortable with the current atrocities committed under the color of law, what comes next?
Wow. Very powerful. You know what? Just food for thought, capitalists. I think we could make a ton of dough. I don't have time myself right now. But if you want to make a lot of dough, I would start selling T-shirts, black T-shirts with white letters that say, "I dissent." And then I would sell another T-shirt. Now, based off J.B. Pritzker's comments, target it to Chicago when you buy your Facebook ads or whatever. Target it in the Chicago area. Again, black T-shirt, white letters. What comes next? The libs will buy it up. You will be able to vacation all over the country, all over the world, if you'd like, based off your T-shirt sales of ignorant liberals. But what atrocities? I would like J.B. Pritzker to list the atrocities that are being committed right now. Because if there's atrocities being committed, all people on the MAGA movement would like the atrocities to stop. But if you're classifying an atrocity as we found 30,000 children here of illegal people who sold them into slavery, and we are now returning them to their homelands, that's not an atrocity by our definitions. The atrocity was putting them into slavery, which is what Joe Biden did. All right. Again, it doesn't just end with J.B. Pritzker's outrage. According to Democrat Representative from Illinois, Mike Quigley, who I guess represents a part of Chicago, they're taking this very seriously, and very drastic plans are now being put in place.
Schools are starting to talk about teaching remotely again because the parents and the kids are afraid to show up.
It is kind of remarkable to think about schools considering going remote again. It's like going back in time to COVID times almost.
Yeah, and obviously it has a very detrimental impact on parents, on the kids, their capacities to learn.
So Mike Quigley just explained the problem with remote learning that we weren't 100% sure, obviously, before the pandemic lockdown, how it would affect them. But now, with 2 to 3 years of studying, the effects of that, we now see it skyrockets depression, suicide, and dramatically lowered their learning ability. Kids were sacrificed on the altar of we need social distancing during COVID, which was a lie. Now, Mike Quigley is telling you we recognize that reality and we're willing to sacrifice the kids again in the name of protecting illegals. We don't want ICE to be able to snatch illegals off the streets. And so we're going to do the remote learning thing. That's their plan right now in Chicago. Now, let me take you, this is, that. By the way, this was all the good news. That's the good news you got. Let me give you to the bad news. Boy, that didn't feel like very good news, did it? Again, the good news is we can now resume deportations. Bad news. The Biden administration's open door policy has led to some horrific things, and we know about a lot of the horrific things. By the way, if you were to Google what infections or diseases have been brought by illegals, if you Google that right now, all you're going to see is that is a debunked theory, okay? But let me take you back to what the CDC was saying on February 18th, 2015. I'm reading from their report. Approximately 500,000 legal immigrants and 80,000 refugees come to the United States each year, with an additional 700,000 illegal immigrants entering annually. 3/4 of these people come from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Basically, Central America. They go through a bunch of things. Now, what are we seeing an increase of based off the illegal immigrants coming from Central America? An increase in TB, syphilis, gonorrhea, leprosy, also polio, diphtheria, smallpox. The CDC was admitting it 10 years ago. They also have something in here called, and I can't really pronounce it, I'll give it a shot, Staphylococcus aureus. I had never heard of it. I Googled it. Now, according to the Wikipedia page for Staphylococcus aureus, currently in the United States, 500,000 U.S. residents are currently hospitalized annually with this infection, and 50,000 people die each year linked to this. And it was basically zero in 2010. So 50,000 people annually die of an infection because of the open border policy. Now, again, Joe Biden invited these people here. Listen to KABC Los Angeles. This is not a political thing that they're making. This is just like a news update for the folks in LA County.
The bugs that can transmit Chagas disease are now firmly entrenched in Southern California.
In the wooded areas of Griffith Park live tiny insects that could harbor a dangerous parasite. The so-called kissing bugs often attack the face.
A lot of people get infected when they're little children, and it can stay dormant for 30 years and then manifest itself as premature heart-related issues.
Now pregnant moms can transmit Chagas to their fetus. It's also been passed through organ donations and blood transfusions.
Are you flipping kidding me? So moms who have delivered babies in the last 3-4 years may have been bitten by a tiny insect. They didn't recognize it as a problem, thought it was a mosquito bite or something. Nothing bad happened to them. It lays dormant for 30 years or so, and then you have a heart attack. And then they test you and say, well, why did this person die so early of a heart attack? They had no other signs of a heart attack coming. They weren't overweight. They didn't have diabetes. They didn't have any high blood pressure. They just died. And then they test and go, oh, they got the Chagas. And you could pass it on to your children. And then they're going to drop dead at 25, 30 years old. We are sacrificing our people in order to try to help people come here. That is insane they would have been tested at the border had they come in legally. Matter of fact, the CDC points out you're actually tested back in your homeland by American officials for all of these diseases. Never forget what the Biden administration has done to America. And it's going to be decades, maybe even centuries, before we can clean up the mess these people created.